Help us keep the Product Porch lights on by giving at patreon.com/theproductporch. Please review the podcast on your favorite platform. Your reviews help new listeners discover us. Thanks.
We were at the end of a sprint and we were successful in delivering value. And someone's like, Joe, hit the bong. And I was like, I thought this was a conservative company.
It's from the bong. Welcome to the Product Porch with Joe Golly, Ryan Cantwell, and me, Todd Blockier. Our topic today is delivering on our boss's ambiguous or unspoken expectations. Now settle in, folks, because on the Product Porch, every topic is a product topic. Hey,
what's
up? How you doing?
What's up, Todd Blackier? I miss you, man. It's been a while since we've been on the porch.
Right? It does feel like it's been a while since we've been on the porch.
Kids, school.
Ryan gallivanting across Europe.
Yeah, lollygagger, went sightseeing.
Lollygagger.
Where are the keychains, dude? Or my spoons?
No, in Sweden, you bring home a dalahast, which is a small wooden painted horse that is the novelty from Sweden.
So ours is in the mail? Is that what you're
right.
It's in the mail. My wooden horse.
Yeah,
I hope mine's pink.
Oh no,
I like pink.
They're only red and black, so you can
I'll take
choose.
black.
Dude, red and black are my favorite colors.
Actually, that's Falcon colors. That's a good sign. That means maybe the Falcons are going to be good this year for the first time in 10 years.
Well, we are back on the porch. Thank goodness. And, I was talking to our buddy Jeff Levitt from Cubicle Farm the other day.
Yeah.
And he brought up this great story. He told me this fantastic story. And I wanted him to share it with all of us. And he had this good question that I feel like could be the backbone of our conversation today. So let's listen in to what Jeff has to say.
So I had an experience when I was approached by an executive member of the company, and he requested that our team build a tool for one of the teams that is customer facing. The tool's purpose was to help the team members get better context about the customers that they're servicing so that when they are in the act of actually servicing them, they can make more informed decisions. So we made the tool, and once it was ready, the executive member said, great, now present this to the VP and the directors of this team. So when we went to present it to them, I was under the impression that this came from the top down. Everybody's already bought into this. We're just really demoing how it works. But after we walked in, we found out it was actually more of a sales pitch. And we had to sell the team on why they should use this product that we had just spent some time building. It really kind of threw me off. I wasn't expecting that. As a product manager, how can we ensure that we have the correct understanding from our leaders so that we are actually delivering what they expect of us?
Man, I feel like Jeff's challenge is not uncommon. I think all of us in our careers have encountered leaders that have come to us with ideas, and as good stewards, as good human beings that we are, and wanting to impress and have a good first impression in many cases, we just do it.
Right.
And then we come to find out that whatever it is they asked us to build, we're off the mark, or there was some other hidden agenda. It's like deflating because, we put our heart and soul into something because we want to impress our leader, only to find out we're not solving the intent, or we didn't address the problem, right? We almost feel like we're taken advantage of. I don't know about you guys, but I've definitely run into that a few times in my career.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I see it coming from asking for clarification can feel like a sign of weakness or incompetence, right?
Yeah.
So those are strong feelings. We don't want to feel that way. And I think I can overcome it with one word, or I'm going to try to. You ready?
Oh, this will be a short podcast. Let's do it.
Yeah, okay, let's go. We got time already.
Outcomes. Understand the outcome.
So profound.
How does outcomes help us prevent or avoid the situation that Jeff got in?
Yeah, I think outcomes means asking why. You are clarifying the result that you have been requested to deliver. And looking at Jeff's question, or listening to Jeff's question, I think if he would have asked a question or two. I mean, in hindsight's always 2020. I don't want to undersell what Jeff did or say what he did was wrong or anything. It's a great situation because, believe you me, I'm sure we're going to share them in this podcast. I have made plenty of these same mistakes myself, where if we said, okay, leader, you have given me this request. What do you expect? Like, what is the result you want this thing to have? And that initiates just like a spark that lights a fire to a conversation of clarification.
Yeah, it's almost like you're unwinding the opportunity.
Yeah.
You're unwinding it. So you start with the outcome like, all right, that's cool. I'll give you guys an example. Let me give you guys an example.
Please.
All right. So I worked with a rather large U.S. domestic carrier. And my boss came to me and he's like, we want to build a website called silverwings.com. He actually gave me the URL. I was in web development and online travel at the time.
Okay.
And he's like, we need to build a website for this large carrier because we want to attract our older clientele. I said, well, he's like, here are the graphics. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a separate login. They're going to see special offers and deals. I'm like, okay. So I built it. And I remember showing it to him, some mock-ups. We went live and the airline was like, this is not really what I wanted. And I was deflated. I was embarrassed. And if I'd asked for outcomes, if I'd said, Rick, what's the outcome? He probably would have said, well, we want to increase engagement with our older demographics. We want them to feel engaged with our airline. We want to give them special perks, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm thinking to myself, we could have done that in like a month. We could have built a landing page. We could have done a myriad of other things, but they weren't getting any different. The prices weren't any different. They weren't getting upgrades. They weren't getting access to the membership at the airport. It was just a separate website for an older a different segment of customers who, by the way, don't use the internet, right? Or are afraid to use the internet. So it was just, I don't know. I think we could have done a lot of testing. I think we could have done a lot of iterating, but it was really around just creating loyalty with making ourselves appeal to an older clientele that they were trying to seek out.
Now I have a push for both of you. I know that you have outcomes over outputs tattooed somewhere on your bodies.
Yeah, it's on my left cheek. Yeah.
Okay, nice. But I want to push on this a little bit because that makes sense to me. Outcomes. But what do you do when how do you get to an outcome when the person who is giving you or making this request doesn't even understand what an outcome is, or can't give you one? So Joe, your assumption there was like, hey, we want to target this audience and we want to, achieve this metric. And that's what your assumption is. What if what you got was, Joe, I told you the outcome. I want this website that I think is going to be good for these people. That's what I want. I want this website. What do you do? I mean, I think a lot of people think an outcome is build me this project.
Yeah.
Build me this thing.
My immediate response to that is the 3-letter word, why? Like, what are you connecting that to? What goal do you have that will help you achieve? Looking for that or exploring those possibilities. Where is this expected to go? Because it's not about, you're right, Todd. We're not going to be able to convince that person or we can't take them to school and say, okay, that's not an outcome, that's an output. And that you're not we can't do that.
Try saying that to your boss this week. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, right. It's not going to happen. So instead, what we can do is try to build our own understanding, because I think, in fact, a difficult thing to do, but something that's incredibly valuable to do, is think in terms of assumptions. You immediately, as soon as you receive that request, you start thinking of every assumption. All right, try to fight the urge to count them as fact and try to hold the other person. If they speak in terms of fact, ask them clarifying questions. Try to really push. Okay, why do you think that is the result, or how is that going to help us achieve the goal, or what path will this unlock to success in some area?
Yeah. What's funny about that is I empathize with people who are earlier in their career or have less confidence or are new in a role. I don't know how much push I can push. And especially with like the first project. Now I'll give you my silly, I didn't understand the expectation story. I have many, but I'll tell you a silly one. Silly one was just started at the LA Times. It's week 1. It's my first product manager job. I'm already feeling, what's that called when you're...
imposter syndrome?
Imposter syndrome. I'm already feeling imposter syndrome because I've never been a product manager. Yep. They're using all these terms I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look them all up. I'm sitting in the office with my manager. I can't remember what the request was. I know that the request was simple. Do this and this and this. Okay. And I'm like, yeah, I got it. And then she said, and then when you're done, ping me. Ping me when you're done. I don't know how, but I had never heard that term in my career. I just said, okay, walked out of the room and went, what the heck am I supposed to do? I finished this project and then I do what? I ping her? I'm like, is that an app? I thought it was an app. I'm like, they must use that at the LA Times. They must use this like the ping app. This is pre-Slack. This is before Slack existed.
Yeah.
I thought this was like some new thing. And I actually texted my buddy who was like, Todd, ping is a computer term. So it's like a system pings another system. So she's just telling you to contact her. You can call her, you can email her. She just let her know. I was like, okay. But my point is, I just got hired at this new company, this new job, this new role earlier in my career. And man, I was scared to be like, hey, I'm sorry, I don't know what ping is. And so I think it's really easy to fall into that situation where, like, to your point, it'd be great if we aligned on outcomes. It'd be great if I asked them why. But what do I do when I'm like, I'm frightened to ask? Guys, I'm asking you to be my therapist.
Yeah. So I'm sounding, I'm recognizing as I'm listening to this, that I'm sounding very idealistic. Like, just do this. Like, and that's not true. It's a lot harder than that. I'm going to give you an example from my real life about this. So I was new with a company, and I was an early career. I was a senior product manager at the time. So I was a senior product manager, and I was sitting in a room with all the company leaders, like from the president of the company, all functional leaders, my boss, and me and some other product managers were in the room, and we were talking. I forget what we were talking about, but it was having a meeting. During the meeting, I was asked to check the bowler. Can you check the bowler and give us the information? You guys are reacting.
I have no idea what that means.
I think it was a very company specific thing. Well, right? That's what I thought.
Is there a guy that just bowls all day and you're supposed to go check with him? Hey, bro, how we doing?
It's like I was so confused. Like I tried to like subtly like think of, okay, what have I seen so far? Can my friend next to me help me? Like, do they know what it means? Are we going to take a break soon? And I might be able to figure this out in 2 minutes. Like, what is going on? Mm-hmm. And I immediately just raised my hand and was like, what on earth is a bowler? And I'll tell you, in that situation, I thought it's either going to go one of two ways. They're going to laugh me out of the room and say, why did we hire this guy? Or they're going to give me the information I need. And I said, in either case, like, if I don't say anything, it could only be bad. So why not try it? And I did. And you know what? They acknowledged immediately. They started laughing. Like, do you know how ridiculous we sound with the language that we speak in this organization? So let me just say, they're like, oh my gosh, like it's second nature. So this is what a bowler is. Are you ready, guys? A bowler is a visual and daily management scorecard.
What?
So you use a bowler to track metrics. and you track them every day. It's like a bowling scorecard. That's why it's called a bowler. It looks like a bowling scorecard.
Oh, got it.
See? So now it's like, oh my God. They wanted to know how my product was doing. They wanted me to report on the metrics for my product. I think we need to put ourselves out there. The moral of my story is oftentimes we over-index on people are going to think I'm silly or incompetent or stupid. I think in our own head, we blow that out of proportion.
I think there's a principle there. I want Joe to jump in, but I think there is a principle there that it's take advantage of being new.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was asking me for some advice, and I said, when you go in to this new company, you can play dumb.
It's fantastic.
There's nothing, and I don't mean it like dumb. Like you have the pass. You have a get out of jail free card for the first 90 days.
Yeah,
where you can ask anything, because what would you rather have done? Assume, which we know what that means, or demonstrate, hey, this is someone that's going to ask a lot of questions. That's especially in a product management role. You just have to ask, because every company we've ever been at, the three of us, I bet Jeffrey too, there's acronyms, there's phrases. Like, I'll never forget this. I was at Baird, and we were at the end of a sprint, and we were successful in delivering value. And someone's like, Joe, hit the bong. And I was like, I thought this was a conservative company.
It's from the bong.
No, but it's like, I think
Cypress Hill started playing, and then
no. Yes. Dazed and Confused started playing on the airways. No. What it was, it's like you get celebrate. You hit the circular, whatever you call the thing that you hit. You hit the bong, like you celebrate. I think we've seen this in our in our roles in the past, right? Yeah, but I was like, the heck are they talking about over here? So I had, the funny thing about me is, you guys know this, I do not have a poker face. So if someone says something and I don't know what they're talking about, I don't need to say anything. They're just gonna be like, Joe doesn't understand what we're talking about, right? But I think when, you're right. We have to be comfortable being vulnerable. That's part of the key soft skill that's needed to be a really successful product manager. Is you need to demonstrate vulnerability, because the reality is we don't know everything. We're not going to know everything. Part of our job is knowing who to ask when we don't know the answer to something.
Right. My dad taught me this when I was really young. We went on a hike in Sequoia. We had a guide, and this guide showing around, and I was, I don't know, 8, 10, somewhere in that range. Maybe I was like 10 years old. And we're walking around, and my dad kept asking the tour guide questions. Kept asking, what about this? What about that? How tall is this? How round is it? What? And I'm just like, gosh, dang it. No one else's dad is asking any questions.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm getting so embarrassed. So finally I told my dad, I said, Dad, I thought you were really smart, but you keep asking all these questions. And his response to me was, how do you think I got so smart?
And I'm like, bloody brilliant.
Oh. Yeah. And what's funny is ever since then, I've always seen it as a sign of intelligence when someone asks a good question.
Asking good questions. Yeah. That is such a prized skill for a product manager, like knowing what question to ask, like in a given situation. I think that is a skill that you can develop. It's not something that you just have or you don't. No, I think you can work at it. Like look for those opportunities and just ask questions.
The other thing is just to ask who to ask.
Yeah.
Right. If you're afraid to ask the question, so like with PRDs, the first time I was asked to do a PRD, I didn't know how to do it. Didn't know exactly what it was. Didn't know exactly how it worked. The question I asked wasn't explained to me what a PRD is, how it works. The question I asked was, who here is the best at creating PRDs?
That's
great question.
And they said, it's Drew. So then I went to Drew and I said, Drew, I heard you're the best at making PRDs. I'd like to see how you do it.
Yep.
I mean, what's wrong with that?
That's brilliant.
Brilliant, brother.
I mean, that's showing to your stakeholder that you are proactive, you want to do it well, and you're not tipping your hand to say, I don't know what that means. And then you get to go find out, like, what is the real expectation here? Like, what does good look like?
And you're learning from the best person. So how is that bad?
Exactly. Yes.
My friend that I was coaching, I told her, I said, make it part of the way you get onboarded. Like her boss's name was Ray. And I said, just, hey, Ray, just bear with me. I just like to ask a lot of questions. So, and he's like, that's really good. Like, he's like, do me a favor. Instead of pinging me, every time you have a question, save them up at the end of the day and then take a half hour and let's just knock them out. And he goes, you have a free pass. This is what he told her. I said, see,
That's good leadership.
Yeah. But I said, I was proud of her because she was afraid of showing weakness. She wanted to have a good first impression. I said, no. You're a product manager. Your job's to ask questions, to get clarification. Let the person know this is what they're going to expect.
And there's exceptions to this rule,
Of course.
but I think it's good for everyone to know this. Most of the time, that person who manages you, leads your team, has a vested interest in your success.
Absolutely.
And especially if that person's your hiring manager.
Yeah.
If that person made the decision to bring you on, they need you to be successful. And that's the person you can come to in that room and say, hey, I have this question. Because it's like, for them, it's like, good, I'm glad you asked me.
Yeah.
I hired someone who had worked for me in the past, and he was fantastic, and I knew he'd be successful. I hired him at a new company, and then I immediately took off to Chicago. Have I told this story before?
No.
Right after I hired him, I immediately took off to Chicago, was gone for a week. It was work related. Came back. I'm in a meeting with him, and he is so upset. He's in tears. His anxiety level through the roof. This is a new position for him at a new company, good salary, and he's trying to do well, and he's lost. And he feels overwhelmed and lost. Whose fault is that?
His manager.
It's 100% my fault. You could have said Todd. You could have said you. It was my fault because I didn't make those expectations clear.
Right.
Yeah.
So the first thing I said to him right away is, I said, first off, this is on me, not on you. I've messed up here. You're not. I reminded him of why I believe in him and why I hired him. And then I went through and I was setting him up for failure. And I went through his list and I just started hacking things. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. This is what I hope you can do. Let me help you with this one. And then let's unblock you and get you going. And by the way, the end of that story is within 3 months, he was already giving us tips as a team and like leading us in better ways to do things,
Right.
which I knew he would do. But I'm glad he was vulnerable enough to tell me in that one-on-one, I feel like I'm failing you. I feel like I'm underwater, because that helped open my eyes to, I haven't been helping you out.
So guys, I'm going to turn the tables on you. Are you ready?
Yeah, do it.
Is there ever a time when not asking for clarification is good?
Yes.
When?
It's the situation. It's the politics. When you're in a room with certain leadership, and you know that leader is looking for commitment, they're looking for people that are going to be part of his team or their team, or I think it's kind of like you've got to read the room. And again, emotional intelligence aside, sometimes you just got to do it, because if you try to challenge in that moment, it might be a career limiting move. I'll give you an example of this.
Please.
So I worked with the MGM Mirage. So back in the day, those were 12 of the largest hotels on the Las Vegas Strip. Mm-hmm. And each of those hotels had a hotel manager, leisure sales manager, and they all had an ego bigger than Lake Mead. Big egos, right? They hated the fact they were under one single corporate umbrella. Hated it. They did not like being told what to do by corporate, despised it. And we were doing a program for them, and we were with the leader sales manager from the MGM Grand, and his name was Dean, and he was prickly. Right. And Dean, I knew my boss who had worked out there was like, listen, when you get in front of this guy, nod your head and say, yeah. Don't question. Yeah. Just don't do it. He's like, I know you're going to do it. You can ask me. So it's like knowing the audience, Ryan.
It's true.
Sometimes you just got to do it. Mm-hmm. Don't ask why. You just got to do it.
Well, what I think is important, what I get from you there is it's important to identify who you could ask which question and when you could ask those questions.
Yeah.
For example, when you're in a meeting room with your boss's boss, or your boss's bosses, and you're in a room like that, and they're asking a specific thing, that's often not the right time to challenge, push. It may be, again, the emotional intelligence, but a lot of times you're expecting the person you report to ask those questions. You might ask that of your manager later, but you also, the other thing I would say is if you don't understand some of the context and interplay between the parties in a meeting, a group session, probably not the right place. Like find a one-on-one session. And then the last part of that, we're talking about the when, is timing.
Yeah.
To your point, I mean, I remember having a meeting on the 9th floor. I think that was the highest floor of this building, the 9th floor of this building. And it was where all the muckety mucks were. And it was a full day long meeting. And my part of this meeting was 10 minutes. Yeah. And yet I had to sit in this room all day. When it got to my point, I had to address my issues and present some things. But anytime before or after that, it would have been inappropriate for me to interject some things.
Right.
And I had the presidents of each of these divisions in the room who were my boss's boss, right? In each of the, it would have been inappropriate for me to challenge them or ask them why in these meetings. Even though I will say this, I still remember to this day, you're a president of the company who is counting features. This team's doing 35 and that team's doing 15. And I'm just sitting there going like, oh, that is so dumb. But I did not ask. Yeah. I really wanted to ask, why do you think feature count's important? I did not ask that question. So anyway, to your point, Joe, I love that. Who, when, what's the context around the situation? Ryan, did we stand up to your question or challenge us some more?
No, I think so. I have an answer myself. I want to see what you guys think of this. So when is it good not to ask for clarification? I think of situations where we are looking for unexpected solutions. Like we want somebody like innovation, or maybe we say it's when a problem is better articulated, perhaps, or like an outcome is better articulated. But sometimes there might be a situation where somebody, without having like a full understanding of like every detail or needing clarification, can lead to a path that no one might have considered previously.
Right. When our point is to just explore, and we may not know why yet. It's interesting is there's some product organizations that are data technology based that actually starts with the data or starts with the technology. And asking why is kind of a strange question to ask.
Right.
Because it's like, well, we have this data set and we're trying to find a way to productize it. One of Ryan's favorite terms. But we're trying to find a way really to monetize. We're trying to find a way to monetize this.
Right.
That when you have that kind of question saying, well, why do we want to monetize it? So we can make money,
pay your salary, pay benefits, match your 401k, pay for you to go on vacation. So I want to go back to something. We're building off of, let's go back to outcomes for a second here. Okay. And we talked about how comfortable we are with asking about outcomes. And I think this goes to something else that we've talked about that's important in the product management ecosystem. And that is understanding that the perception of the role of the product manager, it's got to change. I think it has changed in a lot of organizations. Some it's still a little behind.
Yeah.
But it's that movement away from, or that shift away from order taker who goes and executes to somebody that's considered a partner.
Yeah. And seeing that, I don't think people realize how much influence they can have over some of these cultural differences that we've been talking about, like looking at the organization, or even let's just talk about surrounding the role of the product manager or the product team. We all can encourage open dialogue and transparency around a lot of different things. And even just by you in more public settings and letting others hear that it's okay to ask questions can make a difference.
Create a safe space.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just today, I participated in a retro.
Yeah.
And I had to give shout out to a tech lead who we determined not to do a feature we had planned based on his line of why questions.
Beautiful.
Based on his line of why questions was like, you know what? I don't think this is really the best way to go about this. And I don't think this is going to get the intended result. And that's, I consider myself an intelligent person. I think about outcomes. But him asking that. So shout that out. I love that idea, right? If you can help change a culture, you don't have to be a people leader. You don't have to be a people manager.
Not at all.
Just in your role, if you celebrate people asking questions, asking why, you can make a cultural change.
Right.
Well, and I mean, all of us have managed people in our careers at one point or the other.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know about you, but those that were the most successful that worked alongside with me were the ones that asked the questions. Those are the ones that were the most successful. And at first you're like, geez Louise, this is crazy. Sorry, Todd. We can cut that out of that.
Okay.
Do my best. I know I got to be better about that.
I appreciate it.
But geez Louise, why are you asking me so many questions? But as I got older, I'm like, yes, this person's grilling me. Fantastic. That means they're thinking about it. They're processing. They want to make sure they understand. Like, these are the traits we want in product leaders.
So you know how when they make action figures for like a long time, and sometimes they'll have multiple versions of that same action figure?
Mm-hmm.
This is my favorite action figure version of Joe. Is the one that gets really fired up and starts pounding on the pulpit. We have to do this, everyone. I love that Joe.
That's the stump Joe,
Joe is coming for you. Well, I have one more thing I saw in Jeff's story. I don't know if y'all caught this, and I want to hear your response to it. So the other thing I caught in the story he was telling was he wasted a lot of his time.
Yeah.
And he wasted company money.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why this is important to me. And there's a couple thoughts I have, but one reason this is really important to me is this actually empowers me to ask why. I've had to sit in the room with my CFO and ask her why we're making a decision we're making.
Mm-hmm.
And what empowers me to do that is I think I'm on your side because I'm going to de-risk this because I know you want to de-risk this and you want to manage our costs well. I want to manage. We're aligned. And so I think sometimes if we can recognize we're aligned here in our goals and I'm asking why to help you.
And Todd, you're bringing it right back to another product management principle, empathy. You know who you're talking to. Empathize with them. Put yourself in their shoes. If you can find that common ground, it makes everything so much easier.
Yeah, I know this is, you guys have heard me ask this before. You know how we encourage product managers to build personas of their customers?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I tell people all the time, don't be shy. Don't share it with them. but don't be shy about building out a persona because I'm not talking about the biography, where they went to college or, what their favorite colors.
How about an empathy map joke? Would you go that empathy map would do it?
Well, he's also said jobs to be done before, which I like. Jobs to be done for your stakeholder. That's a great thing.
It's the pains, gains, and goals.
Yeah.
Pains, gains, and goals, and jobs to be done. And the most important one is, drum roll, help me seem.
Help me see.
The social job.
The very social
it's the
job.
social job.
I want to do a lightning round. What are the things you've heard where you didn't know what it meant? We don't have to give the story, but just say, what are the things we've heard?
Okay. MRD.
Yep.
Manage the backlog. I had no idea what that meant when it was first told to do that.
Yep.
Canary test.
Oh, a canary test.
I'm like, what?
Oh, A/B test.
Oh, an A/B
test. The first time I was told to do a A/B test.
Yeah, I was like canary?
Letters?
What? Don't
canary? Like I had you do a smoke screen test. I had a smoke screen test. That one was a good one. But this was early in my career. We need a spike. Do a spike, Ryan.
I've run into that. I have run into that, Ryan.
Yeah. Another one, I knew the words. I didn't know what it meant. Put your strat plan together.
Ah.
But okay, what's in a strat plan?
My other one was burn down chart.
Oh, a burn down.
Hey, we need to review the burn down chart. I was like,
hey, Joe,
and then they showed me a line. What's a line? What's that mean?
Joe, what are your non-functional requirements?
Non-functional.
It's all got to work.
Yeah.
What do you mean it's non-functional? It's all got to work.
Yeah.
You're going to launch something that doesn't work? What crazy talk is this?
Yeah.
I think we're just like making fun of Agile and Scrum. I think Dean Peters is going to hop on the next one of these and give us a hard time.
Dean's head's going to explode when I say this one. Go manage your tickets. Like tickets. Oh, yeah.
Actually, there's so many. And then
Dean
there's said ticket slinging monkey. I'm like, what the heck is he talking about?
JIRA or JIRA jockey, ticket slinging JIRA monkey. It's something like that.
Yeah. I was like,
JIRA-slinging ticket monkey.
There you go.
Yeah.
I've only heard it 50,000 times.
Yeah. And Dean gets honorable mention. But and then there's like the acronym soup, right? You get all the letters 100%. Of everything, right?
And every time you come to a new organization, there's more.
Oh, totally.
Oh, yeah.
And there's not even that is how many different ways can we say goals?
Oh my gosh.
Goals, objectives, OKRs, rocks. Priorities.
Rocks.
Like what? Rocks. Everyone has a different one. Outcomes.
Yeah.
And then some people rank them differently. That's what's really weird. Like, no, it goes goals, then objectives, then it goes rocks. No, it goes priorities. Then you have your goals. And it's like, why?
Yeah. MBOs. I had MBOs recently with a client. Anyway.
MBO. What is an MBO?
Management by objectives. It's the predecessor to OKRs.
That's a lot of jargon there.
Oh, yeah. MBOs. All right. So, Todd, I'm done. Thank you for the lightning round, fellas.
No problem. I just wanted to, before we jump in our takeaways, I just wanted to thank our good friend, Jeff Levitt of Cubicle Farm for the question.
Yes. Jeff's the man.
He is the
great
man.
topic. And Cubicle Farm, by the way, it's a newsletter that helps employees overcome inexperience. If you've enjoyed this topic that we're just chatting about, you can find more content like this at Cubicle Farm, and you can find Cubicle Farm on LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to shout out not only that, like there's an article very closely related to this topic on his site. So go check it out. Like it's on there. Yeah.
Great call out.
What are the key takeaways? Todd, you go first. Just pick one. One for our listeners. What's the big key takeaway?
My key takeaway is to remember it helps me. When you're clarifying expectations, you're serving them. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to just take it off you. I'm not being selfish by asking these questions. You're not being selfish. You're not being dumb. You're doing the right thing. You're helping them achieve their goals.
And I think very similarly, like you often blow it out of proportion in your mind. I have to tell myself that all the time. Like, know that it's okay. Like, the worst that can happen is, what are they going to do? Like, I don't know. Like, it's really not that
stupid.
Bad. It's not that bad. It's really not that bad just to ask. So give yourself the space to do that.
my plea is with the product leaders and product executives as you're onboarding new product managers or people on your team, create a safe space. Let them know it's okay.
Yep.
Make them feel comfortable, right? We don't want people to work for us that are walking on eggshells and they're afraid that they're going to look bad. It's okay. You got 90 days or so. Use the time, ask the questions, be vulnerable. Just set that safe space for your team. That's my humble advice for the product leaders that are listening to this call.
I love it. This was so fun as always, guys. So great to see you. And you know what? You mentioned hitting the bong, and we totally miss out. I could have shared my story about when I saw Cypress Hill in concert and they brought out a 4-foot bong, but
Oh my gosh.
we just missed out on that story.
So Joe, are you sure you didn't mean gong?
Oh, I totally meant gong. Are we going to edit that part out? Please edit that part.
No, because we're going to hit from the bong. I'm going to play Cypress Hill. Thank you for joining us on the Product Porch. We release new episodes every 2 weeks. You can also find us on LinkedIn for more content. We offer a special thank you to AJ and Jack Blockhere for the music. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts of this podcast are their own and do not represent nor necessarily reflect those of their employer.